Season's greetings from Channel 9.
ABC preempts its regularly scheduled programming for the following special, brought to you this Christmas morning by Walt Disney World.
Oh, boy.
Attention, please. Eastern Airlines Flight 19, now ready for departure.
Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're entering the vacation kingdom of the world.
There's enough land here to hold all the ideas and plans we could possibly imagine. We call it Epcot. Will be our experimental prototype city of tomorrow.
Welcome to another episode of the Retro Disney World Podcast, taking you back to the vacation kingdom of the world, the way it was, and the way it is in your memories.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Retro Disney World Podcast. This is episode 25, entitled Anniversary Special, where we'll be taking you back to all the different specials and anniversary and birthday celebrations that Walt Disney World has had over the years up to the 25th. So we've got a great big packed show for you. I'm Todd McCartney, your host of the Retro Disney World Podcast, and with me as always is Hal Bowers.
Aloha, everyone.
Threw him off going first for this month.
That's right, mixing it up. I like it.
Gotta change it up. JT Kuzier.
Hi, from Ohio.
How's it going, JT?
Going good. How are you?
And, of course, Brian P. Miles from the City of Brotherly Love, but he's probably got something else to add to that.
Season's greetings from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's the holiday season, so I hope everybody is enjoying this, maybe on your drive or flight or just somewhere with your friends and family.
Sleigh ride.
Sleigh ride.
Grandmother's house.
Over the river and through the woods.
And, guys, we were down at Destination D last month, all of us. We put out a little half episode.
But it has all the fun of a full episode.
That's right.
It is.
It's great. So, How, I know you were a little under the weather that night. But anything you want to add that you didn't hear in that episode?
I haven't listened to it yet. So
good.
Wait.
Don't we talk about you?
We're not going to move on here until Hal shares with the audience what he shared with us. Hal had a little bit of the stomach flu that night, but the next morning, the first thing he ate was
a piece of apple pie, of course.
There we go. There we go. Pie. All right, well, Hal's got to eat our own dog food here and take a listen to the podcast. We'll get back to you in the new year.
I'm going to have some dog food pie.
Exactly.
Don't just stare at it. Eat it.
Dane's Burgers.
There we go. All right, well, we'll get started, as always, with our comments and corrections. We had a couple people respond back to us regarding, we had asked, there was somebody had written in, I think it was about last month or 2 months ago, about is there anything that scared us at Walt Disney World when we were a child or just terrified about. Mike McGinnis wrote in and said he was terrified of the fake croc in front of Peter's Pan's flight. And he says, I mean, cry and throw a fit and refuse to ride it terrified. So apparently that it was at age 7.
Wait. The croc is fake?
I'm sorry, Brian. You know, we try to keep all the magic. We've lost some of it here. Okay.
I actually find this amazing because it's so hard to see that crocodile from the queue. It's
right.
Like you only really see it when you're getting off of the ride. So I'm so excited. I don't know how he managed to see it prior to it.
Maybe it was one on the sign. I don't know. Let's see. We've got Kate Antilles wrote in, and which at Alderani. She says, "I was this way about Body Wars. I've still never seen a full ride video because this day I still get nightmares. The idea of shrinking really freaks me out, and I can't do realistic innards well."
Then I highly recommend you never ever watch the Martin Short movie Inner Space.
That's
which
right.
was basically the precursor to Body Wars.
Exactly. Now, let's see. Hipster Mickey also wrote, the Studio Backlot Tour scared the hell out of me as a youngster because of Catastrophe Canyon.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
You're just riding along and then boom.
Exactly. So that was all back to, if you have anything that's scary you didn't like, write us at, send that into podcast@retrowdw.com. Another thing that we didn't touch on last, in the half episode, 24.5, about our visit down to Destination D and everything, was, Brian, you visited the golf resort. We did that as the previous episode, and you found a couple of really neat things in some of the photos you took there.
I did. The golf, the current Walt Disney World Palm and Magnolia golf courses still share the clubhouse property there with the now Shades of Green, the former golf resort. So I went over to visit the pro shop at the golf course, and which is very nice. There's a lot of historical pictures inside that chronicle the years that Disney hosted the Walt Disney World Open Invitational Golf Tournament, which was from 1971 to 2012. So each of the year's winners are represented there in a wall of photos. There's a lot of other photos from various things, including a lot with characters that I did snap some pictures of, and I'll have to tweet some of those out. I know I shared them with some people. There's some great merchandise in there, golf merchandise, not necessarily historical, but some great rare golf character merchandise that you'll find there and won't find anywhere else. In the locker room, in the men's locker room, there is a tribute to Payne Stewart, who was a golfer who was killed in an airplane malfunction. Actually, his flight depressurized in mid-flight back in, I want to say it was around 1999 or so. And Payne was local to Central Florida and played at the course a lot and played in the tournament a lot. So they have his locker preserved in the men's locker room, and you can get in there and actually take a look at it. There's a like a polycarbonate or polyurethane panel that you can see the insides of the locker and his stuff in there, and so that's kind of neat. But outside, the facility is a lot like, if you're familiar with any of the photos of the tournaments, the exterior of the clubhouse is very cool. It has there's a golf cart that is done up to look like Mickey Mouse, and I did take some pictures with it. It's parked right in front of the clubhouse, so anybody that goes there can look at it. But afterwards, we did wander a little bit onto the Shades of Green property saw where the pool is, and there's actually a dining establishment there outside along the fairway, right outside the clubhouse, that anybody can go to and eat if you want to. It's outdoors. It's like a snack bar, but they serve like lunch food. So it was neat to see that. I did get accompanied in to see Shades of Green while I was there. So the central building is still there. In fact, in the main lobby, the Palm and Magnolia, what's that called? It's like a frieze that goes around the border of the roof line of palms and magnolias is original to the golf resort. So that is still there, and it's obviously a little bit of the original rooms and buildings are still there from the golf resort. But all of the guest wings have been demolished and replaced with 4-story, or maybe more, but I think it was at least 4-story outbuildings going out both ways. So the whole resort's basically, other than the central building, has been completely demolished and rebuilt. So it's a beautiful place. Our servicemen and women are really fortunate to have it there for themselves. And anybody who's interested, I would recommend that you definitely check out the Golf Pro Shop. You just pull into the Shades of Green driveway and tell them you're there for the golf course, and they show them your ID and they'll let you through.
All right. We also received a copy of a film from BJ Major. We want to just give a shout out and a thanks for that. It's called The Spirit of Epcot, and a couple of us have been going through and picking out some shots, and I'm sure I know, Brian, you and Hal have looked at it a little more than I have, but we're learning some really interesting things from it, and we'll probably have more to talk about in future episodes. You agree? Yeah,
I think we'll cover it on a future episode, but some really neat stuff about some origins of some stuff at Epcot and some great footage of. I think the film was used to promote it to sponsors, wasn't it?
I believe it actually appeared in the Walt Disney Story as well.
Okay.
It was a pre-opening.
Yeah.
So thanks to BJ Major for sending that to us. Awesome piece of film, and we'll definitely be talking about it in the future. All right, with that, it's time for the listener mail, and JT is running out to the mailbag as always. And JT, we've got a couple things that people wrote in this month.
Yeah, mailbag was full of Christmas cards. I had to sift through. Thank you for all of those. Hung them on the mantle.
Lots of catalogs.
Lots of Sears wish books, Toys
Neiman
R Us.
Marcus, all the expensive stuff.
Yeah, so it was a heavy bag, but we appreciate your letters. I got a good one here I wanted to sift out and highlight. This is from Bernie, a.k.a. BRB1006. I'm going to gamble that's a Twitter handle, so check him out. I really love listening to some of your podcasts of past topics, but I'd really enjoy to listen to a podcast with the main topic being about meet and greets. You can discuss about the days when Disney characters were still allowed to wander the parks, which is, he's right, that's interesting. He's heard from lots of Disney visitors where, you get that random encounter. And according to him, roughly in the 90s, is that when that disappeared, you guys think?
Yes. The thing that probably broke the seal on that was the Mickey's Birthday Land. Because I remember there was actually, they publicized this quite a bit, that there was this feeling that it was too hard to meet the characters and you never knew where they were going to be. So they wanted to have at least one place that people could always count on at least meeting Mickey Mouse. And that was kind of the genesis of that project, supposedly.
Was that like his green room where they had that? Or was that something else?
It was supposed to be his dressing room.
Yeah.
If I recall.
I met him in there. Yep, I remember that.
Yeah.
Big,
nice.
He was cool. Yeah. I was very starstruck because, he looked like he was busy, like you're interrupting. He's like, look, I got a show to prep for. Just leave me alone. And then he brings up, he misses missing like Miss Bianca and Bernard. He said those are rarities that are gone.
I thought, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that Miss Bianca's a mouse, right? I'm thinking of the cat from Aristocat that's in France sometimes.
That's Marie.
Marie.
Yeah, Lily loves Marie. I've got a Marie here.
Marie, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've cycled many characters in and out of there over the years. I mean, you still see some in parades that you don't ever see out on meet and greets. In fact, when they released Pete's Dragon in the late 70s, they actually had like a paper mache Pete, the dragon that you could meet.
No way.
Yeah, I have a picture.
It's like just a static piece of
paper mache like Elliot and somewhere that you could meet and get your picture.
That doesn't work in Florida.
It's next to the concrete Pinocchio.
Yeah, but like for example, there's a wonderful thing that circulates online of a character spec sheet they had the Shaggy DA when they released that sequel to the Shaggy dog. They actually had a walk around like dog in a suit with a briefcase that would like stand and pose for fame. So there were times that they had like limited walk around characters that were only around really for the life of promoting the movie.
Yeah.
So yes, we do know they exist. Yes, we miss them. Yes, we wish that they would dig some of them out of storage sometime.
I'll tell you what, though, BRB 1006, you want to see some rarities, you become a runner. They throw a lot of weird ones out during Run Disney events. Like you'd be seeing some oddballs.
The Run Disney and then some of the hard ticket events, they bring out rarer characters. But of course, the character we're all waiting for them to bring back is the Florida Orange Bird.
Yeah, the Orange Bird made a recent appearance on our website. If you guys have not taken a look at it, check it out at retrowdw.com/orangebird. We have released the first ever restored footage of an Orange Bird meet and greet that took place in Adventureland in, I believe it was 1974. The piece of film is, not only was it easy to restore because the color was phenomenal, but the individual behind the camera knew what they were doing. They took some nice long slow pans of the park, but when it got to Orange Bird, there's at least about a minute of him in there. It's a fantastic piece of footage, and as we said in our other episode, our half episode, we had some nice retweets, some nice nods from Disney as well as from Disney Parks, which was really great, and some retweets. So it's definitely going around there. Check it out, and guys, I think it came out great. It's one of our holy grails that we found. Because
in our footage, he has the smooth head, and in the slides in 75, he has the furry head.
Right. So for those of you who wonder what we're talking about, Orange Bird actually had two different types of heads. The original one was a smooth plastic head, and then later on it was still plastic, but covered with I would say probably some sort of felt or fabric that gave it a softer look and feel to it.
Yeah. Did he have a cotton jumper on in any of those?
little white buttons.
Yeah. I prefer the smooth.
So Hal, what's your preference on the orange bird? Do you like the felt covered head or the plastic?
I like the felt. I like a little texture.
All right, so we're 1-1 now. Brian?
I don't care as long as he comes back.
Oh, you'll take either one.
Yes.
Wow. All right, I'll break the tie. I like the smooth head. So
I was surprised. It looked like such a small person in there too. Like it wasn't like a big character.
No, it definitely looked Mickey size. I think
a little bird that thinks orange thoughts.
Yep, exactly.
It was a young woman initially.
Yes.
Was that what? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. And Hoot Gibson,
who's still
met her in the grocery store one day.
Yeah, met her in a grocery store, and he has her name, so we should get on the show and find out what it was like.
She still works for Disney.
Does she?
Yeah,
she
works.
does.
She works at Epcot. So.
And what's interesting though, you wonder if she'll like know the difference between the two heads. Like, did she wear them both?
You never know.
These are these mysteries we try to solve.
Well, we're gonna have a costume made. We'll drag it into the park. Find her, ask her to put it on. We'll do a meet and greet in Epcot.
I think totally if it was going to come back, it would have a few years back when they brought. I don't think it's coming back. I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But
the bird is strong.
Never say never.
Don't underestimate the bird.
I want to add one more thing. It wasn't listener mail, just a total random thing I saw. Just to shout out, I saw this on Facebook. Yeah. Somebody posted in one of the Fort Wilderness groups I'm in. They actually, the people go out in the woods and they dig up like the old railroad ties and stuff. But they found like legit like hardware, like mending plates and stuff from the old railroad. I thought that was so cool. Just a random
stuff.
Yeah. Just they'll go out and explore in the woods, like where the track was, and there's still stuff out there, believe it or not. So
we don't encourage anyone to do that.
No.
So I will say that will be hint number 2 to some footage that we hinted on in the prior half.
We've got footage of people digging. Woo!
That's right. You should see. It's amazing. It's like an archaeological dig. All right. With that, I think we're gonna zip up the mailbag. Is that correct? AJ?
Yes. Keep them coming though. If your message didn't make it on the show, hopefully next time. Podcast at retrowdw.com, and we will be looking for your messages all for the next month.
All right. Now, normally we go on to our audio rewind, and we have a big audio rewind this month. So at some point in this episode, we're going to be announcing the winner of the giant prize pot. So there's an appropriate time to do that. That's coming up a little later. So we're going to get right into our main topic. And the main topic this month is all about the anniversaries and birthday parties and celebrations that Walt Disney World has had over the year. Hence the title of this episode, Anniversary Special. And this is our 25th episode. Can you guys believe it? We've been doing this for 2 years?
Absolutely. I've made my microphone into a birthday cake microphone.
Oh, boy.
Don't get too close. Look at the icing on your face. So we're going to go through a number of the different celebrations that they've done over the years, specifically the 1st, 5th, 10th, 15th, 20th, and 25th. And you'll see how it grew over the years, getting larger and larger and more ornate as the years went on. So how you're going to take us back just to that first year, which wasn't a lot, but they wanted to celebrate that they had made it through that first year.
Yes, there's a wonderful, ridiculous photo, which we will put in the show notes and pull up, of this incredibly strange sort of like walking number 1 that says first birthday on it. And
like a candle?
We spared no expense.
Yeah, it's standing next to Goofy, and they both look, I don't know, somewhat frightening in the early 1970s-ish. So.
I just picture Dick Nunes standing behind him backstage, kicking him like George McFly, like, get out there. I don't care how stupid you feel, get walking.
Yeah, and we should say the one thing that they always did, which I'm sure we'll touch on, is for the cast members, it's like they always had little pins. It's sort of like plastic pins that they gave out for each one. So even if it wasn't like one of the big anniversaries, you can see these quite often on eBay where there's a first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, etc. Sort of like buttony pin thing that was part of the extravaganza.
And sometimes they did the cast member photos. They've done that a lot of times where they try to get a fair number of cast members and characters in front of the castle and do that. So obviously very, very quick and simple for the first. The 5th got a little more ornate. In fact, that they had a little bit of celebration. So I have a piece of newspaper clipping from October 2nd, 1976, from the Evening Independence. And it says how Disney is billing itself as the world's #1 tourist destination point. And the big thing that came out of this was that it says it entered its 6 years today by vowing to complete its creator's dream of an all-encompassing prototype community of tomorrow. And Bob Matherson basically says, we have a firm belief in ourselves and in Walt's dream. So that was about all. There was 3 paragraphs in this entire blurb in the paper about what went on. So it says a Disney official announced at a rededication ceremony. So there really wasn't a lot. But what went on otherwise in that year too was that was a year that River Country opened, and as we talked about on a previous episode, America on Parade, and the biggest thing that they probably did there with that parade was the 1,000 piece band that they put in for the September finale. So 5th was noted. I'm trying to think if there was any special 5th merchandise. Was there?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if there was a logo for that. I don't remember. Really, I think that that point the emphasis was on the bicentennial and getting everything.
Yeah,
out for that.
Right. It did coincide with the same one. Yeah. So again, as we said earlier, these get bigger and bigger as they move on. The 10th was the next one, and where did you find this scan that you've got of the 10th Centennial? This is one of the first ones that got the logo.
Yes, I had a issue of the Disney News that covered the 10th anniversary.
All right, so this is the first time that they decided to celebrate for an entire year the celebration of the 10th Centennial, which had a great logo. It's a 1 and a 0 with kind of the top third of the castle coming out in a very artistic fashion with the word Tencennial underneath. Hal can probably tell us the font with that just by looking at it by sight.
The font was awesome, is what the font was.
Yeah, it was, and actually, if the prize pot this year has the Tencennial coin that's included. So, and the byline to the event was a year long and a smile wide. Play on words there. So this was the 10th birthday celebration, and they say there's a musical concerts, guest appearances, and by a bevy of top name celebrities. So again, this is where they did something every day for a year. So what they did here is that at noon at 6 there'll be and I'm reading this directly from the Disney News, a heart-throbbing Main Street birthday party attended by all your famous and favorite Disney characters. The World Band would be there. And at 4 p.m. came the glorious Tencennial Parade, a gala event with stunning floats representing each of the 6 Magic Kingdom lands. Now, I think if we haven't released it yet, I have to go back in our archives. I think we have some footage of this parade too.
That I find the 10th. I do find that the 10 float particularly stunning. It has a lot of very shiny things on it.
I was gonna say it's a lot of silver and blues and everything. Yeah.
And the Walt Disney World logo, obviously hand cut out on some sort of router or something. It's very imperfect, but it's
Bob and his jigsaw did a great job on that one.
They also had a large Tencennial floral display at the lawn where they had the bicentennial display in 76, 77 up off of the Castle Green, I guess it is.
Yep.
Right.
And there was a sort of a fake cake display up in the hub. Where the partner's statue now stands.
Right. And each day they did pick a special guest, a Grand Marshal, which is a recurring theme in other years. The Tomorrowland Theater also shined with a show-stopping Walt Disney World is Your World, an original Broadway-style salute. See if we can find some footage of that one. And they also greeted the first Tencennial family on October 1st. And then they talked about how on the 2nd and 3rd they did these things. They did some additional. On the 3rd, they were eye-popping extras, hot air balloons flying high above the Magic Kingdom, hoisting a magic number 10, the majestic sight and sounds of a 1,000-piece band again. That seems to be the big calling there is for the large band. And then they did a stunning display of fireworks. It's interesting how they called out along the Magic Kingdom Railroad route. We now know that they do things around Seven Seas Lagoon. Do you recall ever seeing fireworks where they shot them off from the railroad? Which
I don't, but when we actually, so here's one thing. When we had when we were at Destination D, I was having a discussion with somebody on my boat, and forgive me for not remembering who it was, but they had a memory when they were younger that the fireworks initially weren't actually shot off from the Magic Kingdom, but they were actually done from those islands at first. So presumably then there was not a fireworks launching area set up behind the Magic Kingdom yet. So maybe this was sort of their first foray to moving some fireworks into the kingdom itself.
And
that's interesting.
If you recall, Hal, we got to see them set fireworks off from those islands last New Year's Eve.
Yes. And it was spectacular.
Yes. Yeah, and the fantasy, because they run Fantasy in the Sky fireworks for New Year's Eve, and they run basically a test run the night before, and Hal and I were on a fireworks cruise the night before, so they were shooting them off from the island, which was, maybe 200 feet away from us.
The Lane family of Evansville, Indiana is about to embark on its annual vacation. Let's join them. Well, the family's together. The weather is fine. This vacation is gonna be great. All the luggage is packed.
So, this is an interesting part. This brings us to January 21st, 1982. CBS. And I have a sheet, an article here actually from the Herald Journal on January 16th, 1982, just a couple days for the broadcast, which it says Disney World is 10, and it says the musical variety show traces the adventures and misadventures of a typical American family, the Lanes. Now, this article is in reference to something called Kraft Salutes Walt Disney World, and before we talk about it a little more in depth, and this is, I still want to do an episode on all the different specials because we're just going to go over this briefly. I found some articles and some people and some reviews that people have written, but I'm going to read these to you guys. Here's some of the quotes in talking about this special. Even a bit uncomfortable at times, a painful duet about a familial estrangement, completely unnecessary flashback, an odd mute Asian child, and by the gods of old and new, I didn't know I was about to watch a Disney equivalent of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
It is one of, I think, the oddest. I mean, a lot of the old specials were very strange, but this one in particular is kind of bad.
So let's set the stage here. This was called Kraft Salutes Walt Disney World. It was an hour special.
Kraft Salutes Walt Disney World's 10th anniversary with guest stars.
The Lane family was supposedly visiting Walt Disney World. The dad was Dean Jones, and his son was Ricky Schroeder. Mrs. Lane was Michelle Lee, and I believe the daughter was Dana Plato.
You should probably explain who some of these people were, because so Dean Jones was in all the Herbie movies, right?
Yep,
and a bunch of other Disney movies. Yeah. Ugly Dachshund. And,
yeah. So he was Michelle Lee. I think was also in some of the Disney films.
Wasn't she in Scarecrow and Mrs. King? Wasn't that her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so. Dana Plato was the daughter on Different Strokes.
Different Strokes, yep. And we also have John Schneider.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Keaton. We all know Michael
John
Keaton.
Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Yep.
He was
exactly
right.
And everybody was all over him in this thing. It's kind of funny when you
Ricky
watch it.
Schroeder from Silver Spoons.
There was the aunt, which I forget who played the aunt. Who that was?
Ellen Burstyn.
Ellen Burstyn. Okay.
Who was on a Private Benjamin?
Well, I forget who played as they quote, the odd Asian mute child who's in the special but doesn't say anything the whole time. So you need to sit down and watch this because it really doesn't have a plot. If you've watched the whole thing, it's terrible. How would you describe it, Hal? I mean,
I would describe it as not quite as bad as Christmas at Walt Disney World, but up there.
But up there.
Because that's the zenith of like
that is the peak,
specials.
Right? You can't get any worse than that. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a show where we dive into these
someday. Not all at once though, because no one could handle it. I think the Geneva Convention actually prevent you from doing multiple specials at once.
It is worth a look. There's the full on the full show you can find on YouTube. But it's certainly worth a look.
I mean, and there are some nice shots of the old contemporary inside the Grand Canyon Concourse. So, I mean, there's some. Don't watch it for the show, but watch it for the environs around.
Right.
Yeah, the history. You can fast forward through John Schneider's musical numbers and the odd song with Ricky Schroeder.
It's important every once in a while, when we feel we may be drifting apart, to share our innermost thoughts and feelings.
But how you found the Tomorrowland ticket booth and
yeah, the Adventureland ticket booth. There's a scene where John Schneider is serenading some ladies in their tour guide plaids and Small World outfits.
Love you like my dream last night. I wanna hold you. I wanna hold you so tight. Love.
And the outfits that the Swan Boat girls wore. So that's a rarity. You don't see a lot of Swan Boat action ever.
Give that a look. Kraft salutes Walt Disney World. So we're starting to build here. We've got television specials going on. We've got additional things starting to happen in the parks. But 15. We turned 15 in 1986, and everything began to change a little bit.
All roll into one. Shaggy shows the speed. Yes, this is the year to see the world. Walt Disney World.
So before we get into what was done for you coming into the park, a few weeks before they taped a special, we're going to talk about another special that they put on television. Disney invited about 5,000 to 10,000 members of the media for a 4-day event that ran from October 2nd through the 5th. And guys, I don't know if you remember this, but remember the media did a lot of live radio broadcasts from tents of the Magic Kingdom in Epcot. Do you remember listening to your local radio station? And, well, how you were down there, so they had to be there, right? But I remember the New York stations were all there.
Yeah, I mean, they continued to do that for decades.
Yeah.
Like at least well into the 90s.
Right. Oh, we're broadcasting this week live from Epcot.
Yeah, I know for the big promo days, they still do that now. Like when they did the 24-hour day at the Magic Kingdom a few years ago, the first one, there were like 30 radio tents set up in the entrance plaza where they just had all these regional radio stations from around the country broadcasting live as people were coming into the parks. Like
yeah.
Like it was like you were waiting for election results or something. Like, oh, it's just
so this media event was, again, this was a media event, but it was really interesting about this is that Disney went out of their way to not only have the media there about their attractions, but the Orlando area attractions. So now remember, at this time, Walt Disney World was only the Magic Kingdom, and Epcot was 4 years old. So they invited people that they did events from Cypress Gardens, water skiing shows in the Orlando area. They brought them in. Boardwalk and baseball. How did you ever go there? Did you ever go to Boardwalk and baseball?
Boardwalk and baseball?
Yeah.
I was a season pass holder.
Look at that. So there we go.
I was on the starting lineup.
Yeah.
I played shortstop and third.
That was formerly Circus World, and then
exactly.
Hardcourt Brace Jovanovic bought it after they bought SeaWorld, and then it became Boardwalk and baseball.
Yep.
But the reason that the other parks are invited, it's like this is sort of like one of those cool things. It's like there was a policy that Dick Nunes had called the Good Neighbor policy, and it was the same thing that Disneyland did. As a regional park, they treated at first Walt Disney World the same way, where they actually figured promoting tourism all around Florida would be useful for Walt Disney World. So they were good friends with Cypress Gardens and a lot of the other local attractions, Gatorland, and then Eisner changed all that, and it became completely different. It became very territorial once they built all the hotels and things, and it became more adversarial and more copying what the other parks had. But up until that point, they actually tried to be very friendly with everyone.
Exactly. Yep. So we're gonna there's a lot that went on, but we're just gonna kind of highlight what went on property at Disney World. So perfect segue there with Michael Eisner. He and then President Frank Wells, Roy Disney, and Dick Nunes gave a press conference at the Walt Disney Story Theater at Town Square. And then there was a night event held outside. And the next day, some additional events held at Boardwalk and Baseball and other things. But that evening, this is the second day, the Magic Kingdom actually closed early to regular guests and reopened later to all the media for a 15 years of fantastic fun blowout event. Now, they had Crystal Gale in the Tomorrowland Terrace, Four Tops and the Temptations at the Tomorrowland Theater, and Buddy Rich at the Frontierland stage. I mean,
wow, did they fit Crystal Gale's hair in there?
But guess who, guys? You know who was the headliner performing in Cinderella's forecourt?
I don't, Todd.
It was the Miami Sound Machine featuring Gloria Estefan.
Gloria Estefan. Yeah.
She will appear later, so take note of that.
That's right. She's gonna come back. So, and apparently also at the Walt Disney Story Theater, Eisner, Wells, and Nunes also were there to outline future expansion plans for the park at that time. And then they capped off the night with the 15th birthday parade. It was basically the Main Street Electric Parade, and then Fantasy in the Sky fireworks, and Tinkerbell taking her flight over Cinderella Castle and all that stuff. That's just day 2. They had another day of events outside Disney, and then that following evening, Epcot played a host of different events. One was the red, white, and blue celebration of the U.S. Constitution, and they did Skylidoscope. Guys, remember Skylidoscope? That debuted.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they debuted.
Daytime.
Yeah.
Pyrotechnic show at Epcot.
So they did that early in the evening, so they could still see it
with ultralight aircraft.
That's right. Exactly. Remember?
Skylidoscope. Yeah.
Do we know where they landed? Did they make a little strip or something behind Epcot where they could take off? Yeah.
They did. So they would land behind World Showcase back there in what was then Wilderness.
Interesting.
They had a strip built. Yeah.
Right. So they also debuted Captain EO to the media there at the Pavilion.
Yeah.
Yep. They also, now guys, remember what came before Illuminations? Everybody thinks Illuminations, but I remember seeing this in 1986. Laserphonic Fantasy.
That's Laserphonic Fantasy.
Yeah,
right?
which I think blew Illuminations out of the water, but that's just my personal.
Oh, bold words.
Yes, it is. So they did that at 10, and the night was capped off by a performance.
Wait, how could you get any better than that?
Dolly Parton at the Future World Communicore stage at 10:45.
Working 9 to 5.
Working 9 to 10:45. And then on the final departure day, they were given a beautiful handwritten scroll saluting each and every one as honorary citizen of the world. There was also a TV special done. It aired on November 9th, 1986, commemorating the 15th anniversary.
It's Walt Disney World's 15th birthday celebration.
Did you just see who I just saw?
Oh.
Well, I think I just saw the air supply heading into Flower Alley. If we run, we can catch him.
If we run, we'll need air supply directly from a plastic mask.
They think they can sneak by me. Huh? Come on.
It's an episode, actually, of the Disney Sunday Movie, if you guys remember that on I think it was at ABC at that time.
Yes.
And it starred Rex Allen. I mean, you look here, Ray Charles, Walt Disney himself in archive footage, Mark Elliott, Ted Kennedy, Emmanuel Lewis, Art Linkletter, Gary Owens, Dolly Parton, Ronald Reagan, Harry Shearer, Jack Wagner was one of the announcers, and Betty White. I mean, fantastic lineup. And not nearly as weird as Kraft Salutes. So, still a good watch, though. Also, in that year, they put out a great book called The Walt Disney World 15th Anniversary Edition in hardcover. Do you guys have that one? The green?
It has the look and feel of real hand-tooled leather. Yes. On the cover.
It does. And it's very similar to the 10th, because they did one on the 10th anniversary, too, we should mention.
The first one was Walt Disney World, the first decade, and it had this sort of linen blue cover with like a little cutout of the castle on it. Quite lovely.
Great book if you can pick that up. And also in that year, we had The Living Seas, Captain EO's we talked about, The Grand Floridian, MGM Broke Ground. And then a little later during the celebration, we're going to talk about in just a second because the celebration went more than a year, the All-America Parade, and something for a future episode, the Daredevil Circus Spectacular debut.
Yes. I have a poster advertising it in my Disney room here at the house. I do.
Now, it's time to talk about probably the thing that most people remember from the 15th anniversary celebration. And that was that as you went through the turnstiles, every 15 seconds, at least according to what Disney said in the documents we have. So what would happen is that as you went through the turnstiles entering the park each day, this was back on the day of the stamp tickets. So they would stamp your ticket. And when you went through and the turnstile turned, on the end, they had these additional machines set up, and they would actually spit out a ticket. Look like a Ticketmaster ticket. It would print on there. It would say the time and the date, and there was this red box, and right in the middle of the red box, majority of the time that you went through, it would say, sorry, no prize today. But every now and then, you would go through, and they would give you a prize, and they had this special booth set up in the Magic Kingdom in Epcot where you would go over and claim your prize. So I think we need to talk about a little bit here what the prizes were, what was given out, and see which, who of us was down there and what did we win. Now, the big prize of the day was that they gave away a car every day, right? There was what was it, Brian?
The Chevy Cavalier they had.
And they had this awesome picture of it. But remember in Epcot, they had the cake and the cars, the red car.
The number 15. Yep. The number 15 on like mirror balled, spelling out like mirror ball material that spelled out the 15. And then they had a car underneath of it with the cake.
Yep.
Yeah, parked right there.
And if you
parked right there, tantalizing everyone that went in with their subcontract.
They gave one a day?
One car a day. Yep.
Every day.
And
365 cars.
I believe if you won it, they would actually, you would be featured in a Cavalier in the Magic Kingdom parade every day. I remember the winning family would go through. And if you entered the Magic Kingdom, there was this Mickey alarm clock that every number on the dial was 15. These hands that, resemble the if you guys remember this, I don't know, totally resemble the wand of Epcot in 2000. I think, guys, there's two things we need to do here. One, we need to go through and find out who was there in 1986 for this 15 year, and what did you win, and do you have anything today to share? So, JT, were you there in 86?
I don't think so. I think my first visit was like 88.
All right, so we're going to give a pass. Brian, were you there in 86?
88.
88 as well.
There.
So, how it's down to you and I. Let's do a little thing here. Who has what mementos left, and what do we remember?
All right. I did go in 1986. That was one of the years where I got to go one time, and I did actually win a prize.
You did win. What'd you win?
I did not win on the way into the Magic Kingdom, but I park hopped over to Epcot Center, and when I went in, I got my ticket, and then I went over to the right hand side, sort of where the stroller parking thing is now, where they have the little. Also, sort of like the little photo op business, and I got a Future World pin with like Spaceship Earth on it, and it's kind of like a monorail crossing in front of it.
Nice.
All right,
nice.
Future World.
Now, I will admit, 1986, I was there, but there were 4 or 5. There were 7 of us there for a week, and then we went to the parks every day, so we had a pretty good chance of winning something, and we did win a couple.
Just when you were throwing out lobster because they gave you too much in the treehouse.
on the gold. I don't think we were not on the gold key plan then.
Okay, just curious. Go ahead.
So we did win a few things, and also my wife went there in 1987, and she found this and which is one of the congratulations envelopes. So when you would go over and pick up your
there's
prize,
a set of keys to a Cavalier in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
We're gonna find out what's in here. So
I actually already owned a Cavalier, so I didn't need it.
You didn't need one.
Boom. I don't want it.
So I'm showing the guys right now. We have the congratulations envelope that you would open up. They would put your prize in there with the 15-year logo on it. They would also give you one of these, right? The I am a winner
sticker,
foil sticker. Yeah. So you proudly display this. Now, I don't have all my winning tickets. I do have some from my wife, and then I'll talk about what I won. My wife won here on this ticket, Discovery Island. So this is 1980.
She won Discovery Island?
She won the entire island. We own it. That's why we closed it.
Her name is actually Riles.
Riles Island, that's right.
Maiden name Riles.
I have 2 Sorry No Prize Today tickets as well. Now, I know my family, we actually did pretty well. We won 2 of the light-up visors that ran on
All right, I knew we were getting to them.
Yep, so we had the visor with the little lights.
We have to describe the visor to people. So the visor had a silver bill.
Yeah.
And there was some kind of like plastic aspect to it too, wasn't it? Like the edge of it was like a blue plastic.
Yeah, it was plastic. So I may have a photo of me wearing
and
that.
Across the top of it, in the dorkiest scroll you could imagine, it says "I'm a winner."
Yeah,
and it had like a 9-volt battery or something.
Yeah, the 9-volt battery was like strapped to your left ear. It was
the
not
9-volt
comfortable.
battery, which would weigh down one side of your head to light up like 2 LEDs on these sides.
I had about 6. They'd go in sequence. And
I don't even think they were LED. They were real bulbs.
Just C7, C9 bulbs.
Your head would get hot as they started to heat up.
Exactly.
Those things were actually really popular at that time.
Yeah, they were.
Yes.
They were.
They sold them for years
They're really
at Disney.
popular now. If you ever see them on eBay or you ever ask Michael Crawford at Progress City USA to put his on for a little session. He'll do that.
He's got one.
He'll make a
Okay.
video.
We're gonna have to
tweets a picture of himself in it like once a year.
There we go. We're gonna have to get that.
Yes.
They were also Discovery Island tickets were big. We won one of those too. I think there were some other minor prizes, but my mom hit it big, and I have it right here. She hit. This is unused. This is a 1-day world passport, still valid to this day, that I have not used.
Wow.
The date that she won it, it says you may not use it on the day of issue, was October 31st, 1986. And so that's one of
What were you doing at Disney World at the end of October? Shouldn't you have been in school?
I was out of school.
Exactly. Your parents took you out of school for this
1 week,
vacation.
man.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted. Look, I can go back for 1 day now.
Are you ever going to cash that one in, or is that like memento?
I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's in my safe with my other Disney tickets, but yeah, it kind of has.
I feel like you should frame that one.
I might need to. I don't think it's something. All right. Well, we just got back from the parade, and we've been talking about all these celebratory gifts and birthday prizes and all that stuff. And I think it's time that we give out the Audio Rewind Puzzler. So, guys, did you guys get last month's Audio Rewind Puzzler?
Oh yeah, I got this one easy.
You knew that one right off the bat, Brian. I know you knew it.
Yes, absolutely.
Considering you did one of our outros on that. So let's take a listen to last month's Audio Rewind.
Places, everybody. This is a tape. What is that? And 1, 2, 2.
All right, so congratulations go out to Corey White. Congratulations, Corey.
All right, Corey.
The correct answer is the Great Movie Ride. That was the introduction there, just before you get in the vehicle and take off for your ride through the movies. So, Corey, you'll be getting a copy of Walt Disney World's first cookbook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yep. So, thank you very much for writing in, and congratulations. And we have something big to give away. This is our big prize to give away right now. For new listeners, for the last year, we have been putting in every month an item or two into what we call the prize pot. And in just a moment here, we're going to have JT go through the prize pot and give a list of all the different things that this individual is going to be receiving. And then we're going to dip into our magic lottery number generator and pick out a name from everybody who has entered the Audio Rewind Puzzler in the past year. So, JT, why don't we tell them the whole prize pot list here? And we are sending the actual list that you wrote it down on, right? You still got that?
I still have it. Yep. I've gone digital and analog, so just I have a paper backup in case the internet fails, but that will be going with them. Yes, and this is in order, I believe, from when did we start this? January?
Yeah, we started last January. Correct.
All right. An Orange Bird yo-yo. Is that new in the package? I feel like I saw it.
It is. It's new. Yeah, I've got it here. It's brand new in the package. Never been yoed.
Yep. A World of Motion brochure. The Golf Resort Golf Bag Tag, which I did bring to give to you last.
No, you forgot.
I forgot. So it went back to Disney and back to Ohio again. So just so you know,
it's well traveled.
It's Disney fresh. An Epcot Center salt and pepper shaker set. The expired Discovery Island tickets. The glass candy dish, the Tomorrowland handbook, Disney news from 1984 or 85. I have two numbers here, so it's
one of those years.
Yeah, the Walt Disney World Explorer CD-ROM, a Viewmaster reel from Frontierland, I believe.
I think so. Yeah,
that's correct.
The Walt Disney World 10 Centennial coin, the Walt Disney World Pocket Protector. A pin set, which is not retro, but it is at the same time. From all three pins, you get the retro WDW logo, the Lake and Lagoon Tour pin, and the whatchamacallit pin. And are we adding anything else, or was that the last thing?
I think the prize pot's pretty full.
It's pretty sweet.
The bag is stuffed. It's reached the...
And the winner does have to pay shipping and taxes on all this. So,
do we have a handling fee? Do we have a handling and processing fee?
That's a joke, folks.
Yeah, don't worry. We're good.
So all this will be the winner. And how many entries are we looking at? Do we have? We totaled them up, totted them up.
Yeah, we've got almost 600 entries over the course of the year.
So you have a 1 in 600 chance of winning unless you enter twice or three times.
So what JT's going to go down? He's going to go down the stairs right now and go on to the studio computer and hook up to that. And this thing is going to compute a random number generated, and that will indicate the individual that receives this prize.
I have to kick this thing. It's not starting. Hold on. It's old. Okay. The computer has booted. The RAM is firing. Everything's good. It seems to be good. I think we can squeeze one random number out of it here.
All right, JT, it's time to call it. So you got the computer. You've got the random numbers ready. Drum roll.
89.
89 is, congratulations to Wes Hansen. He wrote in October of 2016. Right. Congratulations. The podcast prize pot will be going out to you. And that's awesome. Wes. Congratulations.
Big winner. I want to see you do everything at once, like the yo-yo, eat out of the candy dish, all at the same time. Everything.
Everything at
Reading.
once.
Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
So thanks to everybody who entered. It's been a great year of having all these audio rewinds. We aren't going to do one this month, just in the interest of time, and also just to get the new year kicked off, start again in January, where you can have start doing your entries, and we'll start a brand new prize pot. And
we'll be giving away a Cavalier every month next year.
Rusting.
We could actually probably afford to do that if we could.
Yes.
And actually,
Oh yeah.
83 Cavalier.
So just as the 15th anniversary gave away something every day, we give away something once a year. Or actually, we give away something every month, but the big prize pot this year. So congratulations to Wes. And that's going to take us back over to Hal. You're going to take us through the 20th before we get to the 25th.
Well, the 20th is actually very special to me because I was actually there on October 1st to see the 20th live and in person. So I can actually talked about this one from memory. So I remember we got there right as we could at park opening. Got through the gates under the train station, and then as we walked past the flag. Actually, I think the flagpole was gone. We were like, "Whoa, where's the flag? The flag's gone." And then, sort of just parked there in the middle of the street was this float, and we were trying to figure out why it had like the 20th anniversary logo on there. We were just trying to see what was going on. So it was basically right just as you right where sort of the town square ends, and it goes the straight shot down there. So we're trying to figure out what that's about. And there were some big parade floats, other floats. Sort of interspersed down the street, and they had the sides roped off. Of course, you couldn't walk into the street once you got there. You had to go up and down the actual sort of like sidewalks of Main Street, and they had people sort of line up around there. So I got a spot as close as I could, sort of on the left-hand side, probably about 3-4 people back because it was packed. People wanted to see that. So as we got around to about 10 o'clock, all of a sudden Mickey showed up on the float. And then who should magically appear by him but Michael Eisner, and then Roy Disney. So Michael gave a little speech and thanked the cast members. He handed Roy the original dedication plaque from the Magic Kingdom and had him reread the dedication to the crowd. So that was a really lovely thing, and Roy was actually a little choked up about that because it was his dad, Roy, is that right?
Yep.
Dad?
Yes, Roy O. Disney. Yes.
Roy O. Disney, who did the dedication speech originally in '71.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And then as a special like extra thing, so they had a photographer up on the Main Street station, and they had a bunch of people out in the streets, and they had those guys set up, and the whole thing is they're going to take a publicity photo of the straight shot down Main Street with the castle in the background. And then as a super extra bonus, they had the Blue Angels do a flyover down Main Street with the idea that they would capture the photo of everybody with the Blue Angels up on top. And it was kind of an overcast, rainy day, so it wasn't the best day for it. But they actually did it. They did the flyover, and then they actually called them back to do it twice. So they told the crowd, okay, wait. And then everybody act all excited when they come around the second time, which they did. So they got two. And then when that was done, they debuted the new parade, the new daytime parade, which was a surprise celebration. And then all of a sudden, like the big Roger Rabbit and the big Mickey Mouse inflatables came out of those parade things, and actually had the gentleman who played Sebastian, whose name Sam Wright, was actually on one of the floats singing, and they just did sort of like a mini version as the rest of it went down Main Street. But that was kind of the big blowout for right there. But it's kind of a cool way to kick it off. And for those of you that are accustomed to where's today, it's like I think when they did the 45th, it's like they had some buttons and some a special imprinted map for the day of the anniversary. They did nothing, absolutely nothing for the regular person. It was the cast members got their commemorative buttons as they always did, but the regular Joes, they're just you're just lucky to be here and be able to see this. It's
there was merchandise for them to purchase though with the 20th anniversary.
Oh my God, there was their merchandise. Yeah, tons of logo merch. And there was also, I don't know if they had done this with the previous ones, but this is when we first started seeing a lot of sponsor tie-ins too. So I remember there were offers with Kodak videotapes and Kodak film, where you could send in proof of purchases, and then you would get a pin from Kodak with the 20th anniversary logo on it. It was, and there were a couple of versions of the logo. The one that you see most often is just sort of the number 20, but there was another one, since the concept was it was a surprise celebration of the 20 coming out of a giant Jack-in-the-Box, and they actually built a huge mechanical display of the 20 coming out of the Jack-in-the-Box that they put in the Orlando International Airport. So when you went through the airport at MCO, it's you would see that as kind of a thing to get you excited about going to the Magic Kingdom and seeing all that stuff. So yeah, that was a big deal. There was a ton of merchandise and a ton of advertising tie-ins. And Burger King too had toys in their kids' meals that corresponded with that. So you could get, I think, I remember there was, I would think it was the different floats. So there was the mini float, and then you would get a chunk of the land. So one of them would have a chunk of Main Street, one would have a chunk of Tomorrowland, and then you could assemble them all together to make a little mini Magic Kingdom and then run your toys on them. So that was a big deal. Another thing that happened then was at Epcot, George and Barbara Bush gave their very famous 1,000 Points of Light speech. So
honoring volunteers, yeah.
Yes. There was another television special, and actually a very fine television special. So as we've been going through and knocking the TV specials,
we've been improving over the years.
Yes, I would actually implore you to go out and find the television special that was done for this. It was called Walt Disney World: Past, Present, and Future. It was hosted solely by John Lithgow, and he does a fantastic walkthrough, not only of the parks themselves, but goes into a bit of Disney history, talks about Disneyland. There's a bunch of archival footage. He talks about Imagineering. There's some wonderful shots of Joe Rohde working on or at least pretending to work on the mural at the exit of the Norway Pavilion. There's a bunch of shots of artwork the water park that they built. Typhoon Lagoon. Yes. Shots of Typhoon Lagoon, shots of things like the Mount Fuji, stuff that was proposed to be built that didn't get built, like the Mount Fuji roller coaster, the Russian Pavilion, and a number of other things. And it is really a great special. It's done very straight. There's not a lot of jokey humor. Very factual, but still very entertaining. And John Lithgow is actually a really good host. Some of the things that debuted with the 20th anniversary, there were lots of great magazines that were put out. There was a great Good Housekeeping supplement that went out. There was a number of publications, but quick 20 things that sort of debuted at this time. So the Spectral Magic Parade, everyone's favorite.
Yay!
The long lost, much lamented late Spectral Magic Parade debuted then. The Surprise in the Sky show at Epcot, which brought back ultralight aircraft and more inflatables. This was the year of giant inflatables, apparently, because there were.
It was a big thing.
Yeah.
And coming into the 90s there, you had to have over-colored items and large things.
Well, that's when we had the Air Force One, which was the giant Mickey Mouse balloon, and Zippity Doo Duck, which was the giant Donald Duck balloon. And you had the gigantic 20th anniversary castle balloon. It was a hot air balloon the shape of Cinderella Castle.
Yeah, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, this stuff did actually occur.
Yeah.
And if you follow me on Twitter, you see pictures of all of them from time to time.
Muppet Vision came out. The Beauty and the Beast stage show. The Yacht and Beach Club opened. Port Orleans opened. The Dinosaurs television show, and then their live stage show, which was briefly at Disney MGM. They appeared there. Sorcery in the Sky with Vincent Price, which was a great. I mean, I haven't seen the new Star Wars show, but that was just a great fireworks show at Disney MGM. Pleasure Island, of course. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the movie set adventure was built then. So the playground, which is now probably knocked down. The Baby Manatee showed up at the Living Seas. The Disney Vacation Club, that was the first year that DVC came out. So they started out there. The Sci-Fi Dine-In Theater was built. The Osprey Ridge and Eagle Pines golf courses. Does anybody remember when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was at MGM?
Oh, yes. I remember seeing them at the studios. Yeah, they were over by where Lights Motor Action was. They would come out.
Now, this is another one of those things where allegedly they were going to build them a pizza restaurant at one point, too. So that was part of that churning of like, oh, we're going to put it in a Muppet restaurant. And then it was like, oh, no, we're going to do...
It'll be Teenage Mutant Turtles.
So today we finally have a Muppet pizza restaurant. So it just took another 20 some odd years. The Mini Moo cow. Do you remember this cow that had like the Mickey Mouse pattern on its side?
He was born. He or she was born in the Midwest somewhere, and Disney paid dearly to get that cow.
It was Mini Moo, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mini Moo.
Yeah, Mini Moo.
In Magic Kingdom.
Yep, that's right. Over in Mickey's, whatever they were calling it, land at that point.
You're right
Dixie
in my
Landings.
wheelhouse.
Yeah, Dixie Landings opened with, I guess, with Port Orleans before it was shuttered, and Darkwing Duck joined the Disney Afternoon crew over in Mickey's Birthday Land. So
let's get dangerous.
Sorry, Mickey's Starland. It was Starland at that point.
I'm trying to remember whether it was the 15th or the 20th where they had the cornfield in like Iowa that was carved to look like Mickey's head.
Oh yeah.
And I'll have to check my records at some point. I have a picture of it on my work machine, but it's they paid a farmer that was on normal flight routes between, I think it was Chicago and LA for the flight to Disneyland. And the same cornfield would often be passed over by planes on their way to Orlando from the west. And they paid a farmer to carve the Mickey's head visible from the air in the cornfield. And so it was a big promo thing that they did. I don't remember if it was 15 or 20, but I know it happened.
I think it made it into the Disney news, if I recall, too. Yeah.
Well, those are the great kinds of promotions that they would do just to like capture the national attention for, for a period of time, and probably showed up at that little thing at the end of the 5 o'clock news, at the feel good story at the end.
But if it got 10 people to come visit,
there you go.
It was worth it.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Now the reason that there was such a big push here, if you remember, is like this was just after or during the time of the war in Kuwait. And tourism was down terribly in Orlando. So a lot of this stuff done here was to try to attract people back to the resort, because I can recall going there in the summertime when it would be open till midnight, and you would literally see like one or two other people as you would walk through major sections of the park. So the war had just ended. They started to get this stuff fired up. So the timing was actually really perfect to do a reinvestment back into the parks and get more people coming in. So if there were 5,000 reporters at that 10th anniversary, they tried to up it. They brought in 7,000 reporters and their guests from 28 countries. And they also took 500 members of the media on an around-the-world trip to the other Disney parks too. So they took them not only to Walt Disney World but also to Japan, and probably also showed them the work in progress that was going on in France at the time too. And there was one interesting thing that I ran into when I was going through the news that they actually stopped that year. So apparently, up until 91, they would send the Florida State Legislature down to Orlando and stay at Walt Disney World for a 3-day weekend.
Yes, they had the Florida Legislators weekend. Yep.
Yeah, and they actually had to cut it out that year because they enacted a new law with the ethics stuff where legislatures couldn't accept a gift any more than $100, and then that spelled the end of that practice. And instead, Disney sort of put up a luncheon for them up somewhere in Tallahassee and gave them hot dogs and whatnot.
So somewhere deep in my computer files, I have a series of pictures of the invitation to Florida Legislators weekend that they sent out somewhere late 70s, early 80s. But it's the invitation is so elaborate. It's literally a fold-out Empress Lily, where when you open it up, the invitation forms the Empress Lily in like a pop-up book type format. And then it has additional enclosures that have the full schedule of things that they get to do for the weekend. Basically, they all got VIP guides and things like, the whole legislature, every meal. I mean, everything. I'll have to gather it so that we can tweet and Facebook it out. I've been sitting on it for a while because I'm like, who would be interested in this? But Hal just brought it up.
But it was the 20th. That was a really great celebration. That was a good year. But nothing compared to the 25th.
Come with us.
When you wish upon a star.
Come and remember the magic.
So the 25th anniversary rolled around the latter half of 1996, and we'll go through some of the things that were done for the 25th before we get to the most infamous thing done for the 25th. But first, we should note the television special, or I should say specials, because the 25th anniversary was so big, there wasn't one television special, there was 3. The first one that I want to mention is there was a show that ran from 1994 to 98, I think it was, called Inside Out. It was monthly on the Disney Channel, and it would report on things going on in the parks. And it was basically a promotion vehicle for the parks, but it was a content filler for the Disney Channel. It's a traditional special that you've kind of become used to. In this instance, for the 25th anniversary kickoff, it was the first of the specials to air. Roy Disney, Michael Eisner, the Muppets, Disney characters, lots of ABC celebrities because Disney had just bought ABC the year before. So you would see them featuring on attractions like Ellen was introducing Ellen's Energy Adventure. Alex Trebek, Drew Carey, Chevy Chase, Boy Meets World, Michael J. Fox, David Robinson from the San Antonio Spurs, right? Yeah, Hillary Clinton, yes. You name it. And there was a recorded message at the end with President Clinton kind of saluting them for their 25th anniversary, followed by Illuminations footage. And it was an hour-long special kind of kicking the thing off. Then in February of 97, February 28th to be precise, they did the ABC special, the WDW 25th Anniversary Party. That was hosted by Melissa Joan Hart, who was starring in Sabrina the Teen Witch at the time. Will Friedle from Boy Meets World. Again, Drew Carey, Jeff Daniels, Rosie O'Donnell, Gloria Estefan. I told you she'd be back. There was test track promos, which wouldn't open fully for like 2 more years because they had all those problems trying to get the ride system running. There was a visit to Imagineering in this one, kind of like how described in the 20th anniversary one. They probably spent 5 or 6 minutes there at Imagineering, interviewing different Imagineers and showing you things that they were working on, how they build rides. There was a backlot concert in New York Street at MGM Studios by the Village People and Donna Summer.
Yes.
So you're like, you're all on this, right? Drew Carey drives around the property, basically showing each theme park, most of the resorts, included the parades and fireworks, mentions most of the attractions, and I think it's the first time they promoted turkey legs. There's a shot where Drew Carey's eating a turkey leg and making a big deal over the turkey legs. So I think it might be his fault that they became a thing. He even goes to Pleasure Island to introduce Donna Summer. And then Gloria Estefan performs at the Fountain of Nations in Epcot. Michael J. Fox leads, dressed as a tour guide, leads a backlot tour at Disney MGM Studios. Rosie O'Donnell, for those of you who saw Destination D with the weird Joe Rohde playing a character with James Cameron, it's not the first time that was done. Rosie O'Donnell plays a Philip Marlowe type character, leading you on a tour of the Tower of Terror.
And it's interesting too that we're still in that hokiness of these television specials. They have not.
They all look like pre-shows. I mean, every clip is like one of those goofy pre-shows before a ride.
Yeah, and nothing's gotten really. I guess they're somewhat improved over craft salutes, but still.
Well, the interesting thing about Rosie's section is after they do the Tower of Terror and kind of explain to you how the ride works, and they explain the whole ride system in this special. They then go to the alien encounter, the extraterrestrial encounter. And if you've never experienced that attraction before they ripped it out and put Stitch in its place, it was legitimately scary. It was really well done. A little bit too scary. And this special, which is on YouTube, you should watch it just to see the section on Alien Encounter, because it gives you a really good glimpse of what that attraction was and some of the effects that were in there and kind of how cool it was. But the last 20 minutes, and again, it's the first time following up on Hal's mention of the 20th and the history. They do a recap of kind of Walt and the building of the parks and resorts. And then Gloria Estefan, again, sings Remember the Magic, the theme song that they wrote for the 25th anniversary, in front of a smoke machine-filled castle walkway to send us off to call travel agents and book our trips to see the magic in person. But that was not the best special of the 25th anniversary. The best was the third one, which was called Witching, the word witch. Witching You Were Here. It was a Disney Channel special hosted by Caroline Rhea, who was also from Sabrina the Teen Witch. She stands on a stage at the beginning with Abe Lincoln in the Hall of Presidents and makes a standing next to Lincoln in a theater joke. And that sets the tone for the whole night.
Hi.
She plucks, here we go, follow along here. She plucks two time-traveling kids from 1971 and sends them on a tour of the 1996 era Disney resort. In Epcot, she visits a mime stuck inside a clear ball outside France before
Wait
giving
a minute, the mimes. I'm having flashbacks to who was it? Hal? The mimes?
Come on.
Shields and Yarnell.
Shields and Yarnell.
I was going to say
these two
Shields.
flashback kids. Is it Dana Plato and Ricky Schroeder?
I was about to say Carter and Sanborn, and they hosted a show here.
Why did the mime need to be in a clear ball, though? Don't they need nothing? They
It's
just
like a hamster.
mime.
You have to. It's so bizarre. I'm not even done.
Go ahead.
So after they see the mime, they go on a tour of World Showcase. They end up sitting on the ledge of my favorite fountain in all of Disney World, which is the
France.
fountain in France. Yes, those of you who visited me know how exciting I get it there. But because they were recording and they didn't want the interference from the water, they had the fountain turned off. So they're sitting next to it's just still water on this one. So they then head to Disney MGM Studios, where they run all through that park. Then they look at Future World, hopping around to a few one-off attractions, and then the show ends with them participating in the Remember the Magic Parade. You've got to see this.
So do they ever get back to 1971?
Okay, so at the end, she sends them back to 1971. They get there and they realize they still have her book of spells.
Oh.
So they transport themselves back to 1996, and that's where they meet up with her at the Remember the Magic Parade. And so of course, the only way you can kind of tell they're from the 70s is it's a white kid and an African-American kid. And the African-American kid has the white kid could be from any era. You can't tell the difference. The African American kid has, he has an afro. He's got like a 70s camera around and some like 70s clothes on. But that's the only indication that these kids are not from 1996.
Did they have ticket books?
No.
And short shorts.
So
nothing got better since the 10th anniversary special. They really didn't improve much.
They're funnier. I mean, it's absolutely funnier. They end up with the Remember the Magic Parade. There were 6 giant floats. Again, following up, I guess, on the 10 Centennial, they had the 6 floats, one for each land. This one was different. This was 6 floats, each featuring different characters or movies. And they added like a street theater element to this parade where you had people strolling on. They would actually have audience participation. So the parade opened with Disney royalty. It was Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Pluto, Goofy, Chip and Dale, Cinderella, and Prince Charming rode under like a glittering 25th anniversary logo on the float. Sounds very much like the 10th, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And then on other floats, they had Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, and then an Enchanted Forest float that was kind of like a catch-all. It had Alice in Wonderland, Snow White, Mary Poppins, Baloo and King Louie, Pocahontas, Winnie the Pooh, and Tigger, trailed by Pinocchio and Geppetto on foot. I guess they didn't make the float early enough, so they had to walk behind it. But there were points at the parade where it would stop, and they would incorporate kids from the audience into their act, like doing things like the limbo, which Twitter would lose its mind now if they had people stopping and limboing in the middle of the parade. But that was part of the parade back then. So that parade ran obviously throughout the 25th anniversary. When you entered the park back then, obviously they had the floral logo and everything when you walked in through the turnstiles. But the first thing you would hit was the 25th anniversary Welcome Center in Town Square. And you visited there to get your pin noting the year of your first visit and designating you as a guest of honor. And if you have a junk drawer somewhere, you more than likely have, and you visited during those 2 years, you more than likely have at least one of those guest of honor pins that they would take like almost like a P-Touch, like a label printer, and print your year, like the year of my first visit was. And of course, like I have one that says 1988.
I remember that. Yeah.
You would tell them what year you visited, and they would like hand you a 1971 or 72 or whatever pin. And you were supposed to wear it around. And that was, showing you were a guest of honor for the 25th anniversary. I think I have about 5 in my drawer somewhere. Because you could go in every day and get a new pin. A video was shown in the Welcome Center previewing the attractions that were under construction, including the Animal Kingdom, which would open a few months after the 25th anniversary celebrations ended in January 1998. Every visitor to the Magic Kingdom also received a lithograph. So they gave everybody one of these posters, and all you really had to do was go in and get your poster for the day. So if you went more than one day, you get more than one poster. So I have like 3 in a closet here. But Hal, you've got one in front of you. Can you describe the artwork?
Sure. It's it looks like it's about maybe 11 by 14 on white. There's a very ornate sort of gold carved looking frame. It's sort of an oval shape, and Mickey as a sorcerer is on top, and then it's got Goofy and Lemire and a couple of the other characters. So I see Simba and the genie kind of running around the outside. It's got the 25th logo in a pumpkin down at the bottom because the Cinderella's carriage was part of that logo.
Yes.
And then it has a nighttime shot of the Cinderella castle with Mickey walking up to the castle hand in hand with a small child, and there's a shooting star running behind one of the castle spires. It's quite lovely.
Yeah.
Sort of purples, and
that small child is now eligible for Social Security. So. But yeah, so everybody got one of those posters. So you got a poster, you got a pin. Like the 25th was a big deal. Some of the attractions that premiered that year during the 25th was the Hunchback musical at Hollywood Studios, Illuminations 25 version of Illuminations in Epcot with the Lion King and a Circle of Life themed finale, the 101 Dalmatians backstage pass experience in MGM.
Oh man, I remember that. Yeah.
You want to tell people what it was real quick?
Yeah, they had actual, what I assume were actual set pieces from the
Yes.
101 Dalmatians movie. And in fact, I think one of the most notable parts, they set it up. If you remember the old walking tour where you'd start in the special effects buildings, work your way back. They revamped the special effects tour. So in the first section, you actually saw some like audio animatronic dogs that they had created for it. And I'm trying to remember where they had the bee, if they had replaced the bee or if it was still
from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I don't remember that being replaced.
Yeah.
That was there for a while. I think.
Yeah. I remember more costumes, props.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then later on, you would walk down into one of the larger sound stages, and they actually had sort of the outdoor set of her mansion all done up as if it was covered with snow and icicles everywhere. And that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was legit. Like they pushed that movie a lot that time period for sure.
Absolutely. And so the one other big opening during the 25th was they opened the boardwalk. So the boardwalk resort and the boardwalk entertainment area was opened in the summer of '96. So all of them were promoted as being tied to the 25th anniversary. But the big thing they did for the 25th anniversary, and I'm excited to talk about it.
The limo?
The candles out in front of the train
It's not the limousine.
No,
it's not the limousine.
It's the logo too. I think that's what it is.
The limousine.
I think the limousine was actually for Disney MGM's opening. I think.
No. There's a 25th one too, unless they use the same limo.
No, well, they used the same one. They made it a Barbie one too when Barbie was at Epcot.
It's a horrible limo.
That's another along the lines of the stunt spectacular. There'll be a failures episode in the future.
So the Cake Castle, and it is much maligned, not often beloved by many. And I wouldn't say I was beloved. It was beloved to me. I will say there's a couple of stories attached to it, and I hope in my notes I don't stumble over. But I at the time there was no Facebook or even AOL or that kind of stuff that was around, but I wasn't like a message board follower. So while I was aware that Disney was having a 25th anniversary, I was not. I saw the Cake Castle for the first time in January of '98, which was its last month that it was there, and I didn't know about it. So I must not have been a good Disney fan then. But I remember getting onto the ferry with my friend Rob. Hi, Rob. Everybody knows Rob. He was on the he was the skipper on our boat trip.
He was driving the boat.
Yeah, he was driving the boat, and we get on there. We get on the ferry, and I'm standing next to him, and I see the Cake Castle, and I literally said to him, "What the hell is that?" And
my God.
Yeah, he said, well, that's the giant birthday cake. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and so he starts describing to me like they transformed the castle into the world's biggest birthday cake, and I just looked at it, and I didn't hate it. I was just like stunned because I was expecting to see Cinderella Castle. What I remember about the trip, and I will get into the castle in a second, but what I remember about the trip, setting the stage, is I just remember every time I was kind of in the hub area or on the side, just staring at it. I couldn't look away. I was fascinated by it, like fascinated by how they did it and why they did it.
All I picture is Pee-wee with the snakes when he's rescuing the pet store, just and then he runs
melting and falling down.
So I am one of those people. I don't hate the castle. It's become something of a. I have great memories of that trip, and I had great memories of seeing it, and now I love seeing the kitschy merchandise, and I'm amused by how much everybody hates it.
Well, and if you guys remember last month when we were down at the Contemporary, the Reese Riley Review invited us up there, and Art Miles talked a little bit about when he was a photographer, how that cake had an impact on the view of the wedding facility at the Grand Floridian, where out the window, which was perfectly framed for your wedding photos, was Cinderella's castle. All of a sudden, you had this bright Pepto-Bismol pink and yellow and awesome thing, and they very quietly put up a stained glass window.
I think it was just like a fake picture almost in the background.
Yeah, something over. Maybe Art could share some photos of it with us, but to block out the view. So it's kind of interesting how that had an effect in other ways that you wouldn't have ever expected.
Yeah. So for those of you who are confused by what we're talking about, or maybe not completely down with it, 25 candles, one for each year, as the castle was transformed into the world's biggest birthday cake. Snow globes, t-shirts, sweatshirts, posters, pins, watches, miniature figurines, books, and magazines all featured the cake castle. In fact, there was a Kodak you could send away for the watch. You had like proofs of purchase, and there was a form you could send away to get the watch, because every now and then I see those cake castle watches, which I don't own, on eBay, and I'm like, where the hell do they have them? I don't remember seeing them for sale.
I think you need one.
I got to see if I have one. I might.
At some point, I do need one. But I do know I had a Cake Castle T-shirt. And last New Year's Eve, we were in Epcot and going into the Mexico Pavilion to ride the boat ride. And as we are walking in, and if you've ever been there on New Year's Eve, I mean, Epcot's packed. So, you're kind of walking single file. We're moving slowly through those ramps on each side of the Mexico Pavilion that go down into the actual shopping market and restaurant. And a man, an older man, like 60, walked past us, my group of friends, and was wearing the same pink Cake Castle T-shirt that I had. I didn't see it, but all of my friends en masse, knowing me, said, "Brian, look at his shirt."
That's awesome.
And so the T-shirt, even if I had it, would not fit anymore. But my favorite of the two T-shirts they had for the Cake Castle, there was a second one, literally said something on the front. I forget what it is, but it was maybe it was Cinderella Castle on the front, and it said "that was then," and on the back was the pink Cake Castle, and it said "this is now" with the 25th anniversary logo.
What?
Yeah. So we had a letter come in. Parkscope Joe wrote into us asking how they did the castle. So we're gonna cover that. Painted so that the view from Main Street was a complete cake. But once you moved to the sides of the illusion, it began to stop. And so it was a two-tone castle if you were looking at it from the sidewalkways from Frontierland or Tomorrowland. So part of it was pink and part of it was gray. And in the rear in Fantasyland, the castle was completely left untouched, except for two bizarre inflatable strips of icing piping that were along the railings outside Cinderella's royal table, looking down on the carousel. So it was like you could have had a full normal castle picture from behind, but they said, let's put these two strips here just to make sure nobody takes a normal castle picture for the next 18 months. So they were unnecessary to any illusion. It's so odd to see. I do have a picture of it. In fact, I tweeted it at Hal for his birthday.
And, Brian, your mention of 18 months just shows, again, the grandiose of how over the time these celebrations grew. We talked about just 1 and 2 days, and then it was going to be a year, and now we're a year and a half of pushing this.
My recollection, the 25th may have been the first time, but I could be wrong. I mean, we go back, Hal might remember, that they established the 15-month window where it would be October the 1st until the 31st of December the following year was always the window for their promotions. The reason I said 18 with the Cake Castle is it took them 2 months to put it up and 2 months to take it down.
Right, so you get bonus.
So anyway, the foundation of the castle, this is what Joe asked. Joe asked how they did it. Was it inflatable? Was it hard plastic? He's heard and seen both. This is what it was. The foundations of the castle, the walls on 3 sides were painted pink. The turrets and the spires were all covered with set pieces. And Joe asked how the overlay was achieved and if it was inflatable or hard plastic. The answer is both. The piping around the turrets and the spires, the large candles, the candy cane and straw candy pieces that are red, white, and yellow on the largest parts of the castle, they were all inflatable. The lollipops, the round hard candy that look like lifesavers, and the gumdrops that pop out of the icing over the doorways and around the castle, that was all hard plastic. And if you study some of the videos online that zoom in, you can actually see some of the inflatables. They would sway just a little bit. They were in there pretty tight, but you could see them move and give way a little bit if it was a windy day. On a personal note, about 6 or 8 months ago, somebody auctioned off one of the hard pieces of candy that was over the doorway of the Cake Castle. It was about the size of a large truck tire. I did bid on it all the way till the end, but after it ended up going for about $200. But that would absolutely be hanging in a room somewhere in my house if I was able to win it. So if somebody else has a piece of the cake castle out there they want to send me, I will happily accept it. But the transformation took about 2 months, as I said, started in August of 96, and then it took, again, 2 months to remove it at the end of January of 98. And as
Boy,
I
that's
said,
4 months of garbage looking, though. You know what I mean? Like, if they painted like half of it pink.
I mean, it's the same way when they're the cranes ruin.
Yeah, but that's like different. That's not like half of it's pink or half of it's got a...
I don't disagree with you. I mean, they put all those embellishments on for the 40th a couple of years ago, right? It was the 40th. They put all that picture that changed over the castle archway and things. I think that was for Disneyland's 50th, I think is what it was for. Anyway, so the merchandise, as I said, featured for the 25th, featured Sorcerer Mickey and a 25th anniversary logo, which usually featured the Remember the Magic text scrolled somewhere along the bottom. It was probably larger overall than the Tencennial, although the Tencennial was mostly just restricted to the Magic Kingdom since it was the only park at the time. It wasn't really a resort-wide event like the 25th was. But if you could not make it to Walt Disney World for the 25th, they brought the 25th anniversary to you in the form of a road show. From the Orlando Sentinel in January 1997, they can describe it better than I. First came the promotions with household names such as McDonald's and Sears and commemorative products ranging from CD-ROMs to credit cards. Then came the largest press event in Walt Disney World Company's history, drawing more than 10,000 journalists and other invited media representatives and their guests in early October. Now, with nearly 12 months remaining in Walt Disney World's 25th anniversary celebration, the company's marketing machine is cranking up again. Disney World this week will launch one of its most ambitious promotional tours ever, a musical show that will stop in 25 cities during the next few months. The shows will be heavily advertised and free to the public, playing in shopping mall parking lots and other locations in Disney's top U.S. markets. The Magical Memories Tour, not to be confused with the Beatles album of a similar name, that's very helpful, kicks off January 17th in Miami and then moves on to 5 other Florida cities. A February 1st stop at Altamont Mall is the only Central Florida date. In April, the tour will head out of state. The 23-minute show features the Mad Hatter, Mary Poppins, Mickey Mouse, and other Disney characters in song and dance numbers that culminate with the inevitable pyrotechnics. There is also, you ready? A 68-foot-tall inflated version of Cinderella Castle decorated like the real one as a bubblegum pink birthday cake. Who's got this now? I need this in my backyard, this inflatable cake. Disney expects tens of thousands of people to see the Magical Memory Show. The marketing push will continue on other fronts as well. So here's a couple more things they were doing. The Primetime Anniversary Special, which is the one we talked about, the second one I talked about. American Express will start advertising special card member benefits at Disney World this month. Kodak's campaign begins today with a sweepstakes that will award the winner and 25 companions a free trip to Disney World. Also, with proof of purchase from a roll of film, for $7.95, you can get the commemorative Castle Cake watch. General Motors, JT, has filled its car showroom in Midtown Manhattan with 25th anniversary images and information. Since the anniversary materials were brought in last month, the New York showroom has drawn a record number of visitors. I'm assuming they don't have a New York showroom anymore. Do you have any idea, JT?
So they used to have a space on Fifth Avenue.
Okay.
I think it was their building because I remember being there sometime in the 90s, and they actually had a pretty large display touting Test Track.
In New York?
Yeah, in New York City.
Huh. I mean, they've been based out of Detroit for ever, but yeah, I don't know.
New York is the biggest city in the world,
Mm-hmm.
So a third wave of anniversary marketing will get underway before the summer, promoting the upcoming openings of Disney's Wide World of Sports Complex, its Test Track, a GM-sponsored thrill ride at Epcot. Now, for Philadelphians like me, the Philadelphia Inquirer shared a few more details about the roadshow's local appearance here. It said, Disney, you didn't listen to the commercials. You didn't go to Walt Disney World for its 25th anniversary. Bad parent. But wait, Walt Disney World is coming here. with a 65-foot-tall pink and white 25th anniversary Magical Memories Castle Cake, as well as Disney characters. Cake and creatures will stop at Aiken's Oval, and for those of you who know, it's right in front of the Art Museum where Rocky ran up the steps.
Oh,
and then Saturday and Sunday it would be at the Echelon Mall. In addition to the inside mall shows, Belle from Beauty and the Beast will entertain outside Strawbridge and Clothier's department store court. Mickey or Minnie Mouse will greet outside Boscov's department store, and Tigger or Winnie the Pooh will greet outside J.C. Penney both afternoons. We did manage to track down an eyewitness to the road show at the Echelon Mall. Please welcome my neighbor across the river in New Jersey, Matt, who was with us on our Lake and Lagoon tour at Destination D a few weeks ago and can be found on Twitter at Horizons1. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thanks, Brian.
Welcome,
hey,
Matt.
Guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
So, Matt, the lure of an inflatable castle cake was too much for you to resist. Are you correct?
Exactly. Exactly. So I was a Disney fan, obviously, at that point. And I still live here in South Jersey, but growing up in South Jersey, you're never more than 10 minutes from a mall. I had 3 within 10 minutes of me, and one of them was the Echelon Mall. But kind of the funny part about having it located there is, unlike a lot of malls, the Echelon Mall sort of hidden away. It was part of a master development, so it's surrounded by a lot of residential sort of neighborhoods, condominiums, apartments. There's a library there, so you're kind of just driving through a neighborhood and lo and behold, there's a mall. So it was always a sort of an odd place for a mall, and so they put the Magical Memories tour there, and you just sort of be driving through this neighborhood, and then as shocking as seeing the castle cake when you come under the train trestle and look down Main Street, you'd suddenly see this giant pink castle in the middle of this neighborhood where they would put on the show. So it was kind of strange. There were some pictures taken. I have not been able to track them down though, because that was back in the film days. But the experience itself was very much like a castle show, like you'd see now. So the characters would come out and they did a song, or some sort of story was played out. It was probably about a 15-minute thing, and then they had kind of a meet and greet after that. And I think they were giving away a couple of vacations, and of course you could reserve your next trip to the Vacation Kingdom right there. And I believe they also ran, because there was a Disney store in that mall, they ran something with that. So some additional characters were, like Brian was mentioning, were inside, and they were doing some giveaways in the Disney store. So
and daytime fireworks right out in the parking lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So just like they do daytime fireworks out in the parking lot, they did sparklers and fog machines and stuff. So that part I remember, I was kind of startled because I really was not expecting. You're kind of in the middle of a mall parking lot, and the show finishes, and I don't remember if they played "Remember the Magic" or not, but the big song finishes, and then boom, there's sparklers flying everywhere in the middle of this parking lot, right in the middle of this neighborhood. So it was kind of as odd as the castle was in the park. It was even odder in the middle of this very residential suburban area, right in the middle of South Jersey.
If they did it today, there'd be 50 YouTube videos of the castle actually inflating that people were taking or deflating.
Yeah. So as I remember, and there are a few pictures of it online. If you Google for it,
I have a few
pictures in Central Park. I think there's some pictures where they did the show there. It looks like, and as I remember, the bottom was sort of solid. So maybe the first 10 feet was like a set piece, and then above that was just this giant inflatable, and I think it was 60 or 65 feet tall. So pretty impressive road show. But it was very much sort of
but not like being there.
What's that?
Not like being there.
No, not at all. Not at all. So, with that many malls in the area, that's what you did as a teenager. So we saw the show. It's like, okay, cool. We're going to go back to Disney World. Then we went into the food court, had some pizza, and that was sort of the weekend.
Well, an eyewitness to history.
Yeah, so I witnessed it. I unfortunately have no idea where that castle ended up. But
do any of the rest of you have 25th anniversary memories?
I was there in November of '96. I went, and I was telling you guys earlier, I think one of the craziest things, I thought it was weird, like not like I was weirded out, like I was like, oh cool, something different. Like my mom and my sister, I remember, were like, it's not as cool as it used to be, because they liked Cinderella's castle. But we saw it, and I got to dig up my pictures. they used to do those tours of the Wilderness Lodge where they would actually take you on the roof and like just for a view. And I remember taking pictures of it from the roof of the lodge, the Castle Cake, which was, I don't know, seems like a unique perspective at the time, but definitely cool though. We were there.
I remember coming in and actually I wasn't necessarily a big fan of the Castle Cake, but what I did really like was on the train station on the outside, there were these big candles that were lined up. And that was actually kind of classy and kind of cool. That always made me smile when we walked up to it.
I think there were 25 of them.
Probably, yeah. The rest
I remember
of it,
I remember that as well.
Yeah,
the rest of it, I mean, other than that and the cake, it's like they didn't do a lot to the
and merchandise. Lots and lots of merchandise.
Yeah, lots of merchandise. Maybe some bunting here and there, but like
I want to say there was in fact, I know there was because I saw a picture of it today. There was a 25th anniversary display outside the fountain at the entrance to Epcot. The I always forget what we call it, the Lucite spires or whatever that are at the base of Spaceship Earth. There was it was Mickey with the 25th anniversary Cinderella Coach logo. Mm-hmm. So there was a display there that you could kind of take your picture in front of.
Yeah, I do remember actually that I was working for a company that was doing interactive CD-ROM stuff, and somehow or another we ended up getting contracted by Disney's PR department to do a interactive 1.4 meg floppy disk press kit with that was animated.
That's a whole lot of data there, you guys.
It is. It's a ton. We did it in Macromine Director, I think. So there was kind of like some quiz, and it kind of like gave some of the highlights of the things that were opening.
Yeah. And there were with all of these, but especially the 20th and 25th, there were a ton of contests and sweepstakes from sponsors. The articles mentioned McDonald's and places like that, but almost, Good Housekeeping magazine and Sears and all kinds of other. Everybody seemed to be running a contest to give away trips to the Magic Kingdom to Walt Disney World for the 25th anniversary.
Certainly,
that's one of the things I remember.
So I have to admit too, I'm one of the few people that did not visit Walt Disney World during the Castle.
That explains so much.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was there in '96, but it was March '96, so it was pre Castle Cake, and I didn't return until '98. So I either, depending how you look at it, it was a shameful timing or a perfect timing. I don't know.
Now, have you seen? This is totally not, but have you seen? The projection show they do now, where they project the Castle Cake? Were you going to address that?
Yes, I cheer for that when it comes because it's always very brief. Like
it's
they
like
project
a quick,
the Castle
like,
Cake.
It's there for a click. You have to be paying attention.
Yeah, like like they'll change it and do different themes. Like one of them is like it's a dead replica, pretty darn close of the Castle Cake.
Castle Cake, it's pretty close. Yeah. So
they don't do that in Paris, oddly.
Gone but not forgotten.
We should mention the other times that they mess with the castle.
Stitch,
just as a footnote, was Stitch toilet papering it one day, the day he took over the Magic Kingdom and promoting his attraction coming there. And
keep
then
it classy. Keep it classy, WDW. Keep it classy.
Disneyland's 50th in 2005, they put all of these gold, or what are they, like ornaments, I guess, on
garnishment, whatever. Yeah, they were
through all the turrets, spires, and everything else all got a gold treatment to them. And they put this large picture frame, oval picture frame over top of the castle arch. And it would change every half hour or something like that. The picture would change to one of like 4 or 5 different pictures, each one representing a different castle park, I think, around the world.
Yeah. All right. Good, not great.
Yeah, so they did that. And then, of course, they started the Dream Lights during the holiday season in 1997, or 2007, rather. So this is the 9th year for those, which is mind-blowing.
Sure.
Anybody else remember anything else they've done to the castle? Other than Disneyland putting that weird fake snow thing that they put on it during the holidays?
No.
I just remember them constantly closing it to do shows and never letting you walk through it.
Yeah, it's really hard now to walk under the arch, which was a great way to get into Fantasyland before. But
yeah.
So that is our glorious visit to the anniversaries of Walt Disney World, and specifically the 25th anniversary, which was the biggest, the best. until we see what they do for the 50th.
So, all right, well, that wraps up the main topic of this month. Before we sign off here, we also want to let you guys know about some merchandise. Last year, how you designed a ornament T-shirt based on kind of the different nations around World Showcase and different ways that they would say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, and we've got that on a shirt, so we've got that out there on our site.
That's right. It's got sort of like a spaceship Earthish, sort of red ornament in the middle.
And I love you got the little thing at the top as if it was a hanging ball on a tree. So it's a great design.
They're not the only one that could transform Spaceship Earth into something.
That's right. You've turned it into an ornament.
First.
So as always, if you're interested in getting any of our merchandise, and you can check us out at retrowdw.com/support us. And that's where you can get all of our T-shirts, mugs, iPhone cases, all the notebooks, and all sorts of good stuff. And coming in 2017, I'm sure we'll have all sorts of new logos and new designs that Howe is probably churning and thinking about. He's looking intently right now. Something
right, and there's still some of our whatchamacallit pins and retro WDW pins available too.
Great gifts for the holidays. If you have a list going, tell your loved ones to buy you stuff.
Yep, we've got a couple of the Lake and Lagoon pins left, so if you're interested in any of those 3 pins, you can check them out at retrowdw.com/pins. We'll get them right out to you. Make sure that you get them before the holidays. So again, as always, all proceeds and anything we make from the sales of these items and pins go directly back into the show you're listening to, help us produce the films and restore the films and get them all transferred and get this stuff out to iTunes and Google Play and everywhere else. Speaking of films, we do have a very special film coming up. We have 2 that we're going to release for the holiday season. We have a special Christmas film from Walt Disney World in the early 70s. It's a short 16 millimeter that we stumbled across. And also we'll be releasing a special Big Thunder Mountain, one of the special films from our 6 short 3-minute 8 millimeter films that we came across. And Brian, you're particularly excited for Big Thunder Mountain, aren't you?
You will see these films better than anybody has seen them since Disney's editors looked at them in the 16 millimeter masters that they cut them from. They're just in great shape. Todd's done great work with them.
And I don't think there's ever been any other release of this stuff before, so it's pretty rare. We stumbled across them, we're able to grab them, and we're going to share them with all of you. And there's 5 more coming after that, plus some others that we've got tucked away. So those will be out around the holiday season. So
get hyped.
Exactly.
Especially if you've ever wanted to watch a full minute of footage of people riding Big Thunder Mountain Railroad
from different perspectives.
Like in car,
yes, in car, facing the camera's facing the car.
Early GoPro footage here.
You got it. You got
it. That's awesome.
In glorious 18 frames per second. So, but with that, before we sign off for the holidays, that's going to be our gift to you guys, as we got all these great films are coming out. But Brian, you've got something to say that certainly we'll try to send the elevator back down to some of those out there.
Absolutely. Last year, I shared with all of you the story of how I received a certificate from my parents for my first trip to Walt Disney World on Christmas Eve 1987. So this year, I'd like to close out our Christmas season show with a little history of Walt Disney's love for Christmas and his involvement with the Toys for Tots program. Toys for Tots began in 1947 in the Los Angeles metropolitan area, and the following year, Walt Disney directed his artist to design a logo for them, a logo that they still use to this day. It's a red train with Toys for Tots written on it, and how fitting for a train enthusiast like Walt Disney. Walt promoted the charity during the holiday season for the rest of his life in his theme park and on his weekly television programs. Walt was born during the Christmas season, December 5th, 1901, and he died during the Christmas season 65 years later on December 15th, 1966. But the spirit of Walt's devotion to the cause did not die with him. The Walt Disney Company continues supporting Toys for Tots today, carrying on part of Walt's legacy. So if you wish to honor Walt's legacy this year, consider donating a new unwrapped toy at your nearest Toys for Tots drop-off location, which you can find at toysfortots.org. And the holidays are a time a lot of people reflect on their blessings and express appreciation to friends and family and share with those less fortunate than themselves. That was certainly true of Walt Disney, and it's true of all of us here on the podcast. With a little more than 2 years under our belts, you can count each of us truly grateful for each and every one of you who listen and welcome us into your life for a few hours every month. I have met some wonderful and treasured friends through this podcast, starting with the three guys who co-host this show with me every month. And they join me in expressing that although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you, Happy Holidays, and best wishes for a new year worthy of the dreams and aspirations that Walt Disney had for all of us.
Brian, thank you very much for that. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.
Follow Todd McCartney and Retro Disney World on Twitter and Instagram at RetroWDW, on Facebook at Retro Disney World. For all things Retro Disney World, including exclusive merchandise, visit us on the web at RetroWDW.com. On Twitter, you can find our producer, Jason Bartell from Deepwater Studios, at JasonDWS, our announcer, Andre Gardner, at Andre Gardner, and follow our hosts, Hal Bowers, at Go Away Green, for JT Kuzier, at LS1JT, and you can find me on Twitter and Facebook, at Brian P. Miles.